Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One, coming to you Sunday, June the 6th. The year's 2021. Let's talk trading. It's time for the weekly open and gap. And this video is for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine. So let's get started here. We'll take a look at the weekly chart. We can see that the price is 4 pips above the open. We can see that the gaps have filled across the board. So hopefully some of you traders were able to take advantage of the weekly open gap. Now, moving on, we're putting in the opening range for the week here. And you can see where the opening range of the month, we got inside it, but we're right at the edge here right now, sitting at 41.44. So we'll have to see which way price breaks, but you could definitely play this as a crossover line like you do every week. So for the year, we're up 502 pips, but for the month, we're down 61, and for the week and day, we're up 3 pips. So we're definitely going to be playing that weekly open line here. And last week was pretty much a doji, so you might expect price to head down, but you have to trade what you see in real time. Inside bar traders, we've got a low trigger at 41.35 for the daily and a low trigger at 40.90 for the low of the week. And then on the high side, 42.074, let's call it 42.08 break for the long, and 42.18 break for the long on the weekly inside bar from 2 weeks ago. And that daily inside bar was 6 days ago. And you can see here, we've got some action, the blue and the gray. Definitely there's some action to be had on inside bars. The range, we're still only 6 hours into the trading day here, and there's not much range happening. We took out the pivot because the pivot was actually right in the buy zone. So we had a gap down pivot, and you just, long bias at the time, gaps filled. Now you trade what you see. You can see here price is moving back up above that weekly open, and we're in the 40s. And I like to call that the launch pad for the pound because it usually likes to launch from that area, usually to 60 or higher. Rats range is too low, and I notice some of you traders, and you post in charts, I don't see a message here. So you might have an older version of the rat zone. You might want to get the current version. We took out that weekly pivot earlier in the first 4 hours. We're just looking at the H4 bars. And let's see, let's look over at the weekly. Actually, let's go here to look at it. So we've got the pivot taken out there, pivot taken out here. But when we look at the monthly, we still haven't taken out that monthly pivot at 40.79. Got close. We got 40.82, so we missed it by about 3 pips. Right there's the miss. In and out of that upper wick zone, you can see price moved right out. Couldn't hold. Didn't close above that 41.65.8 line right there. And taking a look at the ranges, you can see on the weekly, we're still at the 0 percentile. And we haven't done any breaking out here. Those numbers are negative, signifying no breakout. High minus close, 27, close minus low, 4. So with the, only 6, almost 7 hours in the trading, just not a lot of movement. And it's not to be expected, especially on the pound dollar. Maybe if you traded different pair, you get a little more movement during this time of day in the Asian session. Wall mall lines, even though this is not the time to trade the wall mall, but still price has to go somewhere. It breaks the lines. So you can see here a couple hours ago, we had a nice 19 pip H1 bar. The rest are under 10. So there's just not much action. So unless you're just building a position, there's really no reason to try and employ some of these methods unless you're patient and you don't mind waiting a couple hours for those trades to play out if you see something good on the chart. For example, if the price was at 142 and it's not moving much, I would definitely be putting a short on, because it seems like we've been stuck in that 142 to 141 channel for a while now. We can look at it right here on the daily. You can see here right about, there's the 140 level right there, and then you come up here, you can see the 142 level. So it seems to be closing above 141 and below 142. So, and you look back, you can see we're in that daily range. So something's going to give sooner or later, just don't know which way. We're in June. It says a bottom typically forms again in mid-May, and we may see a move higher in early August. That's the seasonality. That's what it says. So we'll see if it plays out. So far this year, it has been playing out, especially I think the first 3 or 4 months. May, I don't really think it played out, because May just took off from the first day of May, and I don't think we saw anything lower. Where is May here? Let's see. Yeah, here's May. First day of May, it just took off and never put in a lower low. So we just have to wait and see what happens. I see some traders out there trying their hands at a few of the different methods, and you know, I know you guys been watching. It's repetitive, and I read a quote, saw a quote today. It's something about, I probably should find it before I butcher it. Maybe I'll tell you it tomorrow. I don't want to butcher it, but basically they're saying, it's the same basics over and over again that you practice, and that's what moves you forward. The shiny new indicators, or whatever, the hottest method, they don't have a track record, and you might be lucky in the very short term, but day in, day out, day after day, and they just don't pay out. There's fundamentals. It's that's true of no matter what endeavor you do. There's just certain fundamentals that you need to practice over and over and master them. I mean, the flashy stuff, it comes, it goes, but the main stuff, the real meat and potatoes of anything, speaking of food, I mean, they've got every year some new chef comes along, but look at the guys that are making the same easy meals over and over that people enjoy. I mean, something as simple as a hamburger, right? I mean, there's guys that do all kind of fancy stuff with hamburgers, but hey, everybody's going to go back to the basics and just give me a regular old, hamburger, maybe a bacon cheeseburger. But, with all that fancy stuff, or what some people would call the foo-foo bistro kind of thing, they'll just, it's like, no. I mean, look at truck stops. They're serving us, what? Mashed potatoes and gravy and meatloaf. I mean, a lot of times they run out because that's what works. And those cooks know how to cook it. They've been doing that same meatloaf recipe for decades because it works. It's like horizontal line trading. I mean, when you think about it, It's so simple, and people have been doing it, for decades. But the thing is, they've been doing it even before computers came along. I mean, if you think about it, how would you trade? If you had to write down numbers, what would you write down? You'd be writing down highs and lows and opens and closes, and then if you wanted to, you could calculate the pivot point. You could scratch it out, but and you might just have a little scorecard, um, where it would almost be like a spreadsheet possibly, or you might have a little something where, okay, it made a new high, you erase the old high on the chalkboard, you put in the new high. And then the same thing is true. I wrote this highest low and lowest high indicator, but so you see here as you were coming along, you say, okay, for the last 34 bars, where was that lowest high? And so maybe, it was making, this would be, for what we can see here, there's the lowest high. And say, okay. And so you buy when it's crossing above, and then you take some profit. And then when it starts crossing below, or it crosses below, then you wait. Then when it crosses above again, you enter. And look what would have happened right there if you would have entered. You could have stuck out that trade to now, you'd be up what? 400 pips? I mean, something as simple as that. And on the other side right here, there's that lowest, or there's the highest low. And even today, if you would have taken a short as price was dropping down through this level, right now you'd be up a few pips, about what? 20 pips. That's not bad, right? Something that simple. But I mean, you could do this without the indicator. Literally, it's like, okay, at the end of the hour, okay, was that hour's low? Was that higher than any other hour for as far back as you want to count? Once again, why do I have 34 bars? Just to match up with the 3-level ZZ, the three ball, that's 37 period or 34 period. See, this stuff isn't that difficult. You can literally scratch it out, on the back of an envelope. Just keep tracks of the highs and lows, the opens and closes. And you can just, you could just tick it off. You could say, okay, 141.63. Did that candle go above it? Yes. Did it come back? It was price moving back down. Yes. Let me put my short on right there. You can put in a short, a sell short with, a stop order. And there you'd have it. So it's really not, there's really nothing that fancy that you need to do. But, I was looking around on some forums, and there's people out there still trying to do the fancy stuff. But if you look at, read some of the old trading books before, the internet, and see what they did, how those guys made it, guess what? Most of that stuff still works. It really does. But it's just so easy to, want to have something fancy and new. And trust me, I've got some code because, I like the code, and sometimes it's a challenge, and I'm curious. And some of the things I've coded, you guys, you think, holy cow, look at all that. I want that. It's like, no, you don't. You really don't need it. It's just somebody had an idea. I thought it might be something cool to do. But, I stick with the horizontal lines. So, fellow traders, I hope you're having a profitable month so far, and I hope you have a profitable week. Just remember, risk management, brain management, just make sure you're managing your trades. Don't want to lose too much on any one particular trade, because it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is TheRumpledOne, over and out. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed, click subscribe, click the bell, and click like.